Hello runlings. This video is going to be about my summer equipment, my loadout, I think some people say. It might sound a bit funny now, well in the UK anyway, that it's the end of summer and we're in autumn now. But so the reason I'm doing this now is two reasons. One is I've only just been asked by more than a couple of people to do this. I have got video in my other videos. There are videos of me sort of quickly showing you what I've brought with me, but I bring different things every time, so it's not quite the same depending on the environment. There are slight changes, so that's one reason. The second reason is this: I couldn't have done one at the beginning of summer to show you what I was going to bring, because I already had in my mind what I was going to, things I was going to change and buy as time went on. I didn't sort of go, right, it's summer, I'm going to spend tons of money on loads of stuff. I bought a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it changed as time went on, because there was areas that I wanted to improve or change, and not really till the end of summer would I actually get there. So maybe this is something useful for next summer, and if not, then this is for the people that ask for it. I'm going to do this in two parts, so it's easier for navigation. The first part is just me going, I bring this, I bring this, I bring this, I bring this, and then the second part is I'm going to take each item, just talk a little bit about it, why I bought it, if I can remember how much. I haven't researched it. If I can remember how much, and what do I think about it in the future. Am I going to keep it? Is it something that doesn't work for me? Whatever. So that if you're only interested in just what did I bring, that's in the beginning, and then if you're not really interested in the whys and wherefores, then you can just stop there. So that's the two parts I'm going to bring it in. So let's do it. So the bag, the rucksack, whatever you call it, is a Van Gogh Sherpa 65, being 65 being the Elite Ridge, I'm presuming. And then I'm going to do this kind of in the order of I would unpack. So the sleeping pad, the foil mat that goes under me is a Trail Outdoor Leisure for Amazon, nice and thick, that's why I bought that. The sleeping pad, you can't really see it at the moment, it's in the dry bag that comes with it that you also use to blow it up. I wrap it around it to save space. That is a Rab Stratosphere 5.5 regular. And then for the summer I have this Snooze 200. It was given to me, oh there you go, Euro hike. It was given to me, so I've no idea how much it costs, but it is a really cheapy rubbishy one. That's why it works so perfectly for summer. So the cook set is an OEX, an OEX, that came with it as the stove. Is that Kuju? That's that. A cheap sit mat, what I used to, just from China, a few quid. I used to kneel on when I'm kneeling into the tent. The pillow is a Sea to Summit pillow in conjunction with a non-blow-up one. That one's a blow-up one. There's a non-blow-up one that you just unroll and I put it on top because it's like the super most comfortable thing you've ever had in your life. The tents, it changes from, because it depends on where I'm going and how big a space I've got and stuff. It could be the OEX Bog Hat. It could be the Forsat, which doesn't seem to have a name, just called a Forsat, which is only 50 quid. They're the two main ones. I think I did go on to a Fox 1 for one camp, and I did a Van Gogh, which is more of a winter tent really, for one camp, the Van Gogh Hydra 200. But those two I've shown you there are the main ones that I use nearly all the time. I always bring my Andy's table with me, little silver table. It depends whether I can be bothered or not, but I usually bring my little kettle. Sometimes there's that box you can see there. I keep it in there, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just bring the kettle because I like to have a kettle. That is tiny, just the right size for the cup. The food I bring is there you go. So I mean, that's an all-day, but for breakfast in the morning it'll either be beans and sausages, which I got as a bundle from a military supply shop, or it'll be a all-day breakfast for breakfast. I haven't brought it with me, but usually it's a tin for the night before, a tin of something else, so it'll be still that size, but just a tin of ravioli or meatballs or curry, or a tin of something. That's all I bring, because I only go for one night, so that's all I kind of need. I bring one battery charger, power bank, I mean, by I don't know, from Amazon. That's my power bank. This torch was bought from B&Q, which is, I don't know if you have that overseas. It's a DIY shop. It just happened to be in there. Thought it was really cool. And that goes on the lanyard around my neck, which was got from Amazon. I just keep that around my neck, so it's there with me anytime I need it. Click, point it. That's, although I see other people bringing tons and tons of equipment, that's my equipment, and it doesn't even, for my camera, I mean, it doesn't even fill that up. It's usually a spare battery, a little battery charger, which I don't usually need. I'm usually gone for one night. 2 batteries is more than enough. A couple of cables, and that's kind of all it is. Which you can't see. I've obviously got my GoPro and the tripod it's on. A little tripod, falls down to that big, but it goes 5.5 foot tall at least. I would say probably more than that, but it falls down to that big. Brilliant. It means there's tons of legs on it, but brilliant. And then the chair, always bring a chair, another luxury like the table, but I always have to bring it. That is a Checology Yeezy Light camping chair. It's a really low one, that's what I wanted. So that's my chair. I bought this off Amazon to light the stove. Again from, as I just said, from Amazon. Super waterproof. I'll tell you a bit more about that in the second half as well. In the side pockets, I have, the only cutlery I bring are this, which is just a cheap one off of Amazon again. Long spoon for like getting into my deep bags. And sometimes I don't always have those deep bags, so I don't use them, in which case this one sort of does the job. It's got a fork one end, spoon the other, can opener, which I've had to use before, or actually I think that's the can opener and that's the bottle opener. Say spoon, and I've got 2 of them. I've got 2, I have no idea where the other one is, but I've got 2 of them, and that is all my cutlery. That's all I need. Does everything, stirs the food, eats the food. Half the time I only use one of those. That was in my pocket. I have a little fire starting kit, never needed it, but I'll show you what's in there in the second half. I have a toothbrush and toothpaste set with some little extras in there. This is how I wash, wipe, clean up. Andrex wet wipes. And then there's the tea and coffee in one of these side pockets as well. I bring, and I just chuck them, maybe you shouldn't, don't know, I just chuck them loose in the pocket. Doesn't seem to ever cause a problem. A few tea bags, obviously that's just one, but I just scoop up 3 or 4, I just don't even look at how many. And same with them, I bought these off of Amazon again. A box of 200. These are in a box, and I just literally grab them and chuck them in there. I don't bother putting them in separate bags or anything like that. I know probably they potentially get wet, but they never have yet. You know, my bag's dry, it keeps things dry. It's just easier to chuck them in the pocket, and that's about it. That's all I can think of. I think I've gone for everything. Can't see anything else. Oh yeah, that's right behind me. And 2, it doesn't say on there, they might be more than 1 litre, but I think they're about 1 litre. I used to bring a Pepsi bottle with 1 litre in it, with a 2 litre Pepsi bottle with it, but I wanted the bottles on the outside to create more space inside, so I bought these 2. They look a bit more than 1 litre, I'm not sure, it doesn't say on there, but I wanted 1 litre-ish because I wanted to take roughly 2 litres, and that's what I bring the water in, because I only go for one night. I always bring the water, and that's, as far as I can tell, everything. Oh, I'm seeing stuff, more stuff, and my light source. I've got, as I said, I've got these 2 light sources. I have got a head torch. It's just a cheap one from a little knife to just do bits and bobs, cut things if I need to cut stuff. That reminds me, I've got a tiny little bit of paracord in one of the pockets as well, just in case I wanted to tie stuff. I've never used it, but in case I wanted to tie some off. That's for like just doing general work. Hardly ever use it, but I'll bring it just in case. Yeah, the lighting I have is this head torch, which I hardly ever use nowadays. It's one of those ones you can turn on and off. Oh, it's the wrong button. Press the other button, you can turn it on and off. But I hardly ever use head torch nowadays. That one I hang around my neck, I just use that, click it on, look where I want to go. Sometimes you can just leave it dangling and that gives enough light to see what you're doing, and most of the time this is hanging somewhere. This again from Amazon. You just hang off there. It can act as a little power bank as well if you want to quick charge stuff, but it's rechargeable. You just hang it up wherever. Usually it's hanging up in the vestibule of my tent somewhere, and that stops direct light. There's different settings on it, but you can turn it up and down. You get a little remote control, you can change the settings and turn up and down the intensity, and that usually just hangs somewhere, and that gives me light in the camp. And if I'm stealthing, I can hear someone coming, I'll keep this in my pocket, and and wherever I'm standing in the camp, even if I'm not that close, I can just turn it off, and that usually lights up the whole camp. That's why I don't really need a head torch, because that lights up the whole camp. And if I do turn that off because I need to, I've got the one here hanging around my neck in a lanyard. So I found out I'm hardly ever using a head torch, if at all, really. I don't remember the last time I switched it on. So that's the light of the camp, and those 2 things are all I need. And I think that's the lot. I think that's everything I bring on a summer camp. One more thing actually is I bring a lightweight, this is a very thin lightweight hoodie. I bought this from Go Outdoors. I think I bought it from Go Outdoors, I'm not sure actually, I've had it a long time. DLX, I'm not sure, I think it's Go Outdoors, I'm not 100% sure, but it's really thin, really flimsy, so you know, and half the time I just bring it with me and just take it home again in the summer. But that's the only thing I bring. You know, sometimes I wear shorts, sometimes I wear thin trousers. You know, that differs depending on, you know, there's no uniform for that, but that hoodie I bring every time. Hardly ever use it. And one last thing for the hood, because just remember, this is the very last thing. I've shown you that goes in the hood of the bag. First aid kit, a life tent in case something goes wrong with my tent, or I forget to bring it, or whatever, and a spare hairband. And that's the lot. That's my whole camping attire for a summer camp. So the second half is the same thing again, but a little bit more detail of why I'm taking what I'm taking, and if I think it's worked. Because I'm always, you know, if it doesn't work, then I think, oh, next time I'll buy something else or improve on that or something. So, you know, I buy these things, use it, and then decide whether it's any good or not. So I'll just briefly talk over if I think it's any good as well. I hope I don't miss anything out. Well, in the first part 1, I'm looking around thinking, you know, I should have taken everything off the bed as I was talking about it, and then I'd know there's nothing left. So I was looking around going, oh. So I'm going to do that this camp. So this camp, this I'm not going camping. So, okay, so the Sherpa, the Van Gogh Sherpa 65. Now my other my other rucksack was a Euro Hike Nepal 65. Now it was only 19 quid. So obvious reasons why when you're starting out I bought that there, because this is my only ever second backpack. So I bought that and it was fine. Arguably the straps on the this is the Euro Hike I'm talking about. Arguably they could have been a little bit better, because these are really lovely and thick. They could have been a little better, but there was nothing wrong with the other bag. It was working fine. It was cheap and it was going strong. I didn't really have any trouble with it. The only reason I changed, I mean, it wasn't the most comfortable bag in the world, but really it wasn't such a big thing that it was something I wanted to change in the future, but not such a biggie. Yeah, there's other things I'd rather have got, but the only reason I did change it is because I went from 1-man tents to bringing 2-man tents, which are bigger and heavier, and I was carrying a 2-litre Pepsi bottle inside, and I wanted a bag that had pockets for a bottle, so I could take that 2-litre bottle out, buy 2 1-litres and put them in the pocket, and therefore creating a whole ton of space inside. Brilliant. Then that gave me enough to put in a bigger tent, so nothing lost. Brilliant. So I bought this. This was 90. This was on a special offer. It was something like 80 something pounds. I think it was 100 or just over 100 without the offer. It's much more padded. It's much more stiffer. Padding's better. It had a pocket in there, which is great. Much more comfortable. Definitely quality was improved times 10. It comes with a little shower, rainproof cover, which the other one didn't. And the other one had a few little straps on the hood, which I found quite useful. This one has straps all the way down the back, which I find really useful. But there, I didn't find them that much use. Has bigger pockets, side pockets, so it's a much better one. But the only complaint I have, and this is my personal reason, is the reason I bought it was for these side pockets. I don't know how, I've got a light in my face, it's still these side pockets, so I could put my bottle in. Well, I didn't notice at the time that these pockets are tiny and they don't have any, it stretches a little bit on the main material, but this top piece doesn't have any give in it, so you're pushing the bag inside to get the bottle in. So in a sense you're using the inside of the bag to put the bottle in. I can't even get the bottle in with nothing in the bag, that's how. So you're putting it in there like that, but it's pushing inside the bag because there's so little stretchiness here and the pockets are so small that you're still, I reckon, about 70%, maybe a bit less, say at the best 50% of the inside of the bag is still being used because the material is being pushed back into the bag. So I was a bit disappointed with that, because yes, I can get them in there, but God, is it a struggle. I have to turn the bag on its side and make sure there's something soft on the inside, like a sleeping bag. I have to turn it on its side and I have to push down on the bag to push the sleeping bag inside to make the space to get the bottle in. Not overly happy by that. I was going to looking to get some slimmer bottles to compensate, because I don't want to buy another whole bag for that problem. But that's just a personal thing. I actually really like this bag. The hood pocket is absolutely giant. I can get so much in there. It does taper down a bit narrower at the bottom, which when you push stuff right at the bottom, it does, you can feel it sort of narrows out a bit, and it's a bit difficult. I never use that middle section, you see. I always push that through. I want the whole bag. But other than that, it's a great bag. I'm pulling these pockets as hard as I can to get the bottle in, and they've not torn or anything, and it's very comfortable, and it's a really good bag. So I'm dead pleased with it in every other respect. It's not one of the top notch super duper expensive bags, but for me it's a huge upgrade, and I absolutely love it. That's item 1. Right, item 2 on the agenda. As I did before, I'm gonna, so I don't hopefully don't forget something. I'll go kind of roughly in the order I unpack-ish. So once the, I'll start with the tent then. So I use this is quite heavy, much lighter than the, because I've got a Van Gogh Hydra 200, which is smaller than this, yet a lot heavier. So it depends what perspective you put it in, and it packs up a lot fatter than this. This is a lot slimmer, about the same length perhaps, but a lot slimmer, but it's much lighter. And this is a one, it's just called a Foresight. There's no sort of model name for this. You see this on quite a lot of camps. This is definitely a summer tent because it's inner pitch first, so you can, if you know it's not going to rain, you can just put the inside up, which is all mesh. Perfect. Can't get any cooler than that. But you could, if you put the fly sheet over the top of it, you also have two vestibules, and you can open both sides and get a nice through draft. And the inner one is mesh all the way to the bottom, to the little bathtub sort of ground sheet. So definitely a summer tent. I think in the winter you struggle, but loads of room, very airy inside. You can sit at both ends of the tent and sit upright. It's so big, yet it's much bigger footprint. So it's bigger, but more spacious, but lighter and slightly smaller than the Van Gogh, which is a lot smaller. So yeah, it's kept me dry. It's only a cheap tip, it's only 50 quid, but it's kept me dry. It's done me well. I don't take it with me every time purely because it's got quite a big footprint. It's quite round and domey in shape, and I sometimes have to squeeze myself in some really tight spaces, and that doesn't allow for it. Otherwise I'd take that nearly all the time because I love this tent. And the other one I brought was the Bobcat OEX Bobcat, because this is a small tent, has a vestibule for which is good. It's very small and compact when it's up. I mean, it's it's a blade design, single pole, so it can fit into some real tiny spaces, but you still have a vestibule. So I bring this because I don't necessarily say it's a summer tent per se. The inside is quite a solid design, but I bought it during the summer because of its size really. And I'm only showing you those two because I think those two got most of the workouts. I bought the Van Gogh once. I've just done a camp in the Van Gogh, but you know, it's not summer anymore. It's a lot cooler, so justifiable. I did do a one in the OEX Fox 1. I don't really tend to like using that anymore. It's a glorified bivvy. It's my first ever tent, and that's why I'll keep it. I bought it because it was cheap. That was kind of cheap and not Chinese. Yeah, it's better quality one. It's probably made in China. I have no idea, but that generic term Chinese implies it's cheap, so it's not a Chinese one. But it was really cheap, and that's why I bought it. It was only ever going to be temporary. As soon as I felt I was ready to upgrade it, I would upgrade it, and that's why I only had one outing this year, because it's so small. I really wasn't sure the space I was going to squeeze it into. So that's the only reason it came out. So I didn't really show that because technically don't really want to use that per se. So those are the two main ones that I used most of the time, and a couple of times the Van Gogh, but mostly it was those ones. So that's the tent. Sleeping bag. So this is my summer sleeping bag. It was given to me. My partner's daughter was moving out of her house, so as you do, you have a little rummage around looking to chuck things away. You don't want to bring things with you don't need, and she said, "Oh, I want this," and the answer was, "Do I?" Because I had another one that wasn't really happy with. That was my summer sleeping bag, and this is great, and it's great because it's not the smallest compactest design, but it is really light, and you can really squash it, bend it, and yeah. So but being summer, you know, you don't take a lot of stuff, so you can forgive the slightly bigger design. But it's perfect for summer because it's so rubbish. It's really thin. It has no thermal properties at all, but that's exactly what you want when you're going camping in the summer. Some of the time I didn't even use it. I just laid on top of it, or I like the fact that you can unzip this and make it into a blanket, a duvet, say, because then I can have sort of cool underneath and just have something over the top. And sometimes I didn't even do that because it was too hot. But that's what came with me, and it came with me because it is definitely a summer sleeping bag, because it is pants. I said I'd do this in order, I did it in the wrong order, because before that the foil mat goes down first. I had the thin, really flimsy thin ones. I've had sort of, just shall I say, heated discussions off of some people leaving comments about the fact they think I'm full of it, but because I think those thin ones don't do anything. You know, the really thin ones that people bring along where they're no weight, because they're really thin and they have a really wafer thin sort of back on them, sort of foam back on them, and they're really super thin, they fall down really small. I've laid on them on cold mud, cold grass, through the ground sheet of the tent. Obviously I've laid on them, and all I feel is the cold from the ground coming up through them. I don't feel any heat being retained. So my personal opinion is they do little to nothing. This is obviously a lot bigger. It's not a problem. It's so light. It's not like it's any real major weight. It's still super light, but it's obviously a lot bigger. But I slide it through the little, on the bag on the outside has straps that, my tent used to be there, but the tent now I'm bringing 2-mans are too big for that, and the other bag and this bag, they're just too big, so I can't use that anyway. So I prefer that. I like to carry it on the outside, because as soon as you get where you're going, your tent's on the outside, that's what goes up first. Now I've got to open the bag. If it's raining, everything goes inside, the water goes inside the bag, so I prefer it being on the outside, but I can't do that. I could probably modify it, I'm sure, but anyway. So this goes on the outside, so it's not really causing any problems per se, and it's really, really thick. Look how thick that is. So it's a lot warmer, but I bring it, I know that's a summer thing, a winter thing to say, but I still bring it. And the reason I still bring it is because you should see the damage on the inside of this. It's probably actually not going to show up very well on the camera, but because there's loads of nicks and damage and the swirly bits where things have been pushing it, and so the reason I bring it is because it takes, my sleeping pads would be taking a hell of a lot of beating without this, and that's what I'd be concerned about. I'm concerned that the really thin the really thin foil wouldn't be protecting it. So I bought this, even if it's summer, even though it's a bit warmer, I bought it with me because I just feel it's doing a better job of protecting it than a little foil mat, or if I didn't bring a mat. You know, I think it's taken one from the team, as it were, because it's getting very damaged and battered on the inside because of all the, you know, places, you know, I'm not going to campsites, you have to go places where there's things sticking up and roots sticking up and stuff like that, and they push into the sleeping pad. And I love my sleeping pad, I'll come to that in a minute. I love my sleeping pad, and I don't want that compromised, so I still bring that even though it's warmer, because its thickness, I think it's really helping protect my sleeping pad. Which brings me to sleeping pad. I love this, the little, see, I don't know if you can see, it's quite shiny now because of the lights on it. There's a couple of screwed up eyes there, and it's an elephant there. Yeah. Anyway, so this is my sleeping pad. It doesn't look like much like a sleeping pad because that is the dry bag stroke air pump to pump it up. I put it inside. I put look at the size of it, it's huge. I put this inside it, The reason I do that is this, by the way, is a Rab Stratosphere 5.5 regular. I presume that applies to there's a big and a small, maybe. I don't know. That's a regular. And at an absolute squeeze, with a lot of practice, I could still only just get it in there. It's a real struggle to get it in there. It really, when it came in the packed in the factory, normally the bags they come in are really baggy because they pack them so well in the factory that they're really baggy, and then when you put them back in, it fills up the bag. But no, this came really packed tight in the thing still. So yeah, how am I supposed to, if they can't do it in the factory, how am I supposed to? So it's a real struggle to get it back in. But they did have that inside there as well, and I can't do that. It's just a struggle without it. So I thought, well, that's no problem. This is quite thin and flimsy. I just, as you saw, put it in the bag and roll it all around and put it on. It's pretty much the same size because this is so thin, it doesn't take up any extra space. So I just had an epiphany, and I can just about get it in there, and then I put that rather inside that, because it is really difficult to get it in there. I mean, you can see it all bulging out the end there. Look, yeah. No, I'm quite good at. It's just not even. You know, it's not even. I'm quite good at rolling stuff up. I've been doing it since forever. Not just since I had the channel. I've been camping like my whole life. So I'm getting quite. I am quite good at doing it, but this tests my expertise to its limits. And I can still only just get it in there. And arguably so, I can only just get it in there. There's no way I was even going to try and put that in there. So that, other than that, which, you know, it does go in there, but other than that, this thing is the best sleeping bag I've ever had. It's extremely comfortable. It's having a 5.5 R rating. It's quite warm, and you can feel that. You can lie on that, and you can actually feel the heat coming through. So it's quite warm, and it's a good size. And yeah, as I said, it's really comfortable. So I bought this. Again, I hear you say, well, that's a winter thing. It is a winter thing, but I needed a new pad, a sleeping pad, about a quarter of the way into summer, and I wasn't going to buy a summer sleeping pad, or I couldn't afford to buy a summer sleeping pad, and now winter's here, then do another spend again. So I decided to go straight for a winter one. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to be off because my budget said you've got to do it around that way, because you can't keep buying hundreds of sleeping pads every year. But that's a sleeping pad, and that is a good buy. I love it, and I can't wait to feel the full benefits in the summer, in the winter even, which is now on its way. I've been struggling a lot with pillows because I keep buying inflatable ones, because at the end of the day the inflatable ones are small, you know they are small, and I want a pillow, dedicated pillow. I've had all sorts of advice of stuffing your coat in this, that and the other, and blah blah. I've tried all that. It's not comfortable still. I don't like it. It's not comfortable under my head. So an inflatable sleeping bag, pad, pillow, bar, a sleeping pillow is the way to go as far as I'm concerned. But I've struggled to find some. I've gone through quite a few, and the latest one is the Cedar Summit one, and I don't know what the I used to do Eros pillow, Cedar Summit Eros large. I didn't particularly want large. It was just the last one in the shop. It was Cedar Summit, quite expensive. That's why they don't come under my radar. But this was actually reduced. There was a sale on, and it was reduced, and it is easily the most comfortable inflatable pillow I've ever had, by a long shot. But they still, this is my own personal thing, I still found it was a bit too low, and it was giving me a crick in the neck in the morning. And I think that's a personal thing, because the actual sleeping, the pillow is so comfortable. It's soft. It's not, you know, my previous pillow was hard. This is soft. Even when you pump it up full, it still feels soft to the touch, and it was a warm material. It's a bit crisp-packety, packety, so I think there's something inside there to keep, but you can feel the warmth on it. So, but it still wasn't quite there. So my partner saw this in a shop when we were in the shop. It's just a cheaper one. It's just called a lightweight pillow. The symbol I've never seen before. Not a inflatable. I said I wanted to say inflatable because these ones aren't thick enough. They're thin. I've seen them, all the ones that aren't inflatable, that are actual pillows that you wrap up. They're just not thick enough by a long shot. But blow that up, put that on top, and oh my god, it's like heaven. It's like a piece of heaven. So I finally found, it does mean lugging this thing around with me. It fits in the pocket, the hood of my rucksack, because I haven't filled that to its maximum capacity, so I can bring it with me. It's an extra weight, it's an extra size, but oh, the comfort just outweighs it. I'll leave my food behind if it comes too heavy, just so I can have the pillow. This is the first time, it was the last piece of the puzzle. I've perfected everything else. That's the last piece of the puzzle I just wasn't quite right with. I wake up with a crick or in my neck, or just wasn't comfortable in the night. Something's happened and it keeps slipping away. That has allowed me to I've reached that point where I'm down, I'm comfy, and I'm gone. Gone. So the pillows, I've had to put two together, but you know, for me, the sleep, if you're not warm and dry and comfortable, you ain't gonna enjoy the camp. And so I'm willing to carry extra weight to reach that comfort level where none of that side of it is an issue, so I can get on and enjoy the environment I'm in without having to go, oh, I'm not comfortable with it, and that would really ruin it for me. So I'll take the extra weight and the exercise and the extra this, that and the other, so that's one area that I am now, nothing can touch me. I'm super comfortable all year round, so I'll have it. I don't know in that last section if you caught that, but my partner was shouting up that dinner was ready, so I'm going to leave it in, because if it's there I don't care. But yeah, she shouted up for dinner, and that's why I kind of looked at the side and thought, I can hear something. So I've gone away and had dinner and come back, and now I'm all belly full. Not that that's relevant at all to this thing in any way whatsoever. So, but I have lost my thread a bit. So I'll just grab the next thing, because I think in order, this is kind of conjecture now, I'm not really sure, but I would put my seat up, my Trekology Yizzy Light chair. You can see on the picture what it's like. It's a low chair. The reason I bought it is because you can buy all different type of height camping chairs. The reason I bought this is because it sits super low, just barely off the ground, and it does, excuse me, it does mean that from the point of view of stealth camping, I can be low. Usually I go in places where the grass is overgrown, because it's the best sort of cover, and you can sit below. It sits you about the same height or even lower than most of my tents, and so you can sit and hide a bit more. It's nicer being lower to the ground, because you're also nearer your vestibule, because usually I have the same sort of thing. I open one side of the vestibule up and I sit right next to the vestibule. There's a lot of stuff in the vestibule, a lot of stuff on my table, and being this low I can reach it all without having to keep getting up all the time. It's the old man in me talking there. So I like that. It's nice and low. It's going really well. I'm not a light person, and this thing has taken me virtually falling into it to sit in it, and rolling off it to get off, and I've had I don't know if it's my last beach camp, but one of my beach camps I actually sat in it and the whole thing went backwards because I was on the beach and it all just sunk, and I was, feet in the air like this. But it's taken all that kind of beating and it's still going strong. It's never faltered a bit. So that's a really good buy. It's a luxury. I don't like sitting on the floor, and this is small enough to actually sit inside. Even my little two-man tent, some of them are in the vestibule, so if it rains I can sometimes pull it inside and still sit in there. So that's a really good buy. It's a luxury item. Since we're on luxury items, I'll move to this. This is another luxury, not a necessity. It's an Andy's table. I bought it from Andy's website. Found out it would have been slightly cheaper if I'd have bought it off Amazon. I say Amazon almost for everything I buy, but actually, yeah, I found it and it was cheaper by a few quid on Andy's website. They do lots of stuff, but with the posters and packing, it actually worked out to be more expensive than if I'd have done it on Amazon. So I should have just stuck with Amazon. So, you know, the one time I try to sort of look everywhere and not just automatically go Amazon, I get stung for the price. That's a little silver table. It's nice and low again, fits with my chair, because I wanted a specific sort of height, and it fits with my chair. It's perfect, and I love having the table because it means that in the winter where all the floor's wet and slugs are crawling around, you know, you can keep everything off the floor. So I can put things in the vestibule and keep them out of the way, and anything I don't want touching the floor goes on the table, and it's all to hand. It's so much more to sit there in your chair, looking at nature in a comfy chair with everything by your side, so you don't have to keep getting up all the time. You can enjoy, yeah, less time faffing and more time enjoying. So I love the height between the two of them. They work, it works really perfectly. I'll go on to me. Oh yeah, I'll say about this. This is a cheap thing. I bought it for a couple of quid off of I think this came off of Temu. Obviously they sell stuff like this on Amazon, but this came off of Temu because it was like a couple of pounds. I bought it with a bunch of stuff, and I had one that was, as far as I can tell, was exactly the same as this, and it lasted me a really long time, and I only got rid of my last one because the sponge was getting thinner and thinner and thinner, because I kneel on it. I put it outside the vestibule, or sometimes in the vestibule, but outside the inner tent, and I kneel on it because in the winter, you know, every time you kneel down you get covered in mud, so, or wet. So this it's a sit mat, but I would class it more as, for me, as a kneel mat, because especially in low tents, you know, you're kneeling most of the time, grabbing stuff and pushing it inside, and grabbing stuff and pushing it inside. You know, you can't keep getting up and down all the time. You're kneeling most of the time, and that's what I use it for. Also, when I'm coming out the tent, you've got to crawl out, because being a two-man, or one man, or whatever, you put this outside the tent, you put your hands on it as you're getting out, and hands and then your knees on it as you're getting out, and it stops you getting wet patches on your knees and what have you. And the last one, yeah, only a couple of pounds. The last one was exactly the same as that, and the only reason I changed it was because it was getting really thin, because years of kneeling on it has just thinned it out, but it was still going in every other sense of the word. So my cook set, I did talk about this in a bit of detail in my last video, so I won't go in major close detail, but so as I said, to cut a long story short, my stove stopped working. I'm just taking that out the bags in a net bag. My stove stopped working, and I went to go outdoors to buy a stove, and then while I was already thinking about changing my cook set, because I had a fairly large cook set with everything in it, and I hardly ever use any of it, so I wanted to downsize that, simplify that, and so I was thinking about that at the time, but I was going to go outdoors to get a new stove, and then I found this as a set, the stove plus the cook set, Bob's your uncle, and they were having a 30% off sale at the time. I think this is £26, so that's what I ended up buying. That's on top because it don't fit inside, but that plus that is my cook set. They all sit on top of that goes down the side of the net bag, but whereas before it was something that was slightly lower, but had a lot bigger footprint and a lot heavier because a lot of guff inside it, and I had the gas bottle separate, you know, because there was nowhere to put it. So it was like bigger and a gas bottle, and now the gas bottle is inside, and so that's all I have. So that, although it's quite a big pot, it's still a lot. I mean, it's taller, but overall it's a lot smaller than my last cook set, especially when you factor in the fact that I haven't got the gas bottle is now inside. So it's the set is called an OEX. I think I don't know if it's the set or just the stove. an OEX, is that Kuju? Kaja? Kudu? I don't know. So that's the stove I ended up getting, which is, I was using a Chinese stove up to this point, so that is far superior. There's a couple of niggles with it, but that is basically far superior than my other one. It's much more, it's quieter, which is like, my other one's so loud, even in the middle of the night. You know, you're in the woods and it's like, this one, if you turn it down, has no sound, and if you turn it up, has half the sound that it did before. And I can even boil kettles on the no sound side. It takes slightly longer, but if I want to be quiet, it's doable. Don't like the fact that it stays hot forever in a day. The other one used to cool down a lot quicker. But it's a good stove. But I know, you know, despite everything I said, I prefer the stove. It's a good stove. And then the cook set itself is good because now I can keep my cup inside it, my collapsible cup. As I said, I can now put that inside it. It has two, it's not just the pot, it has two bowls as well, which I will keep. Some, you know, if I don't bring in, I've got a kettle. I like using the kettle. If I don't bring the kettle, I could conceivably make the food in there, tip it into a bowl, wash this out, and then boil that for kettle for tea while I'm eating out of the bowl, I suppose. I could do it the other way around as well. Just boil the water first and then cook. So I may use them. I may or may not use them. The main reason why I keep them is because I might take one out actually, so it's lower. We might get more in it, but the main reason I keep it is that when you put the gas bowl in there, it keeps it secure, so it doesn't rattle around. And without that, it's going clang, clang, clang. Because my first thought was just to take the things out. But I've just thought about taking. You know, if I'm hardly going to use two, but I may use one, but I'm certainly not going to use two. I'm wondering if I can get more in there when I take away the bowl. Watch future videos to see the exciting thing, because I'm not going to do it now. So that goes in there, and that's pretty much all that fits in there. There is a little space, but not to put the stove. I'm wondering if I can when I take one of the bowls out. Don't know. And that is from a different cook set from the other cook set, because I think that is brilliant. Wooden spoon, great for stirring, doesn't scratch the insides. Sometimes when I've actually forgot my spoon, that's acted as an eating spoon as well, so I always bring that with me. It's quite handy. It just slips down the side of the bag, the net bag. So I like that. As I say, it does mean one pot is trying to do everything, trying to eat your food and trying to eat up from kettles and stuff like that. But it means that if I can take that as a minimum. What I have been bringing with me just recently, along those lines, is an extra thing I bring is the kettle. I bring this kettle with me. It's about, if you fill it right up, it's about the size of that cup. So it's like the bare minimum size. The more I use it, the less happy I am with it. It was useful at first, but I'd like to kettle that holds a little bit more than that. It's like the barest minimum. Sometimes I just bring that. The reason I liked it is because of its shape. It fits inside that cook set. You know, so if I do bring more food, because sometimes I bring more food. Sometimes I want to cook more creatively. Not often, but sometimes I do. And then I bring the cook set with me, which has a hairbell on it to stop the handle from. Sometimes I bring that. Sometimes I just bring the kettle. Sometimes if I'm trying to save space, I just bring that cook set, and it has to do one size fits all. That's nothing to do with it being a summer. That's going to be all year round thing. The annoying thing about it is that I look on my last cook set, it had an igniter, and I think they're brilliant igniters. And I wasn't thinking about that when I bought it, and it doesn't have an igniter, so then I had to purchase this, which is what I used to light it. It has a lanyard. I think for just lighting it for a drink occasionally and making a meal. It's not worth keeping around your neck. It's not like using it every 2 minutes, but it's fully waterproof. You're supposed to be able to dunk it under the water, and it's waterproof. And you flip that up, pull that up. You don't have to pull that up, but it's all bendy, so you can direct it, or you can use it like that, and it's it lights the stove. Really good, really useful. It's rechargeable. I keep the cable with me because I can charge it on my power bank, which I'll show you later. So yeah, so I had to buy that extra because of the stove. I didn't want matches. They can break. You can forget them. I suppose you could forget that, but that sits in the cook set with me. They can get damp. Lighters, they can go wrong. They can and they can get damp as well. But that should work in all weathers. It's completely waterproof. If I drop anything else that would light it, then it won't work. I can drop it in water and it'll still go. So if I'm doing it, if I need something to light it with, that's my favourite way to go. So food, I didn't bring it with me, but I usually bring a tin. I'm going to show you that side. A tin of meatballs, curry, and sometimes I bring a little extra bag of boiling bag rice. So curry or basically anything in a tin for dinner. And for breakfast, it's usually always another tin with all day breakfast in it. Or I have bought a huge job lot of this beans and sausages. I usually like that for breakfast because it's yummy. You can eat that hot or cold. It's just as yummy. And that you just stick in a bag, in a pot. That's why that pot's quite good, because it's so much. You can get so much water in it. So you stick the bag in a pot and heat it up, and that's my food, because I only go for one night generally. So that is all I need food wise. I might bring an extra snack, but generally speaking I don't bother. Along the lines of food and drink and stuff, in my side pockets I keep oh yeah, so there's still food and drink and stuff. I keep this little bag, and it has a long spork for if I'm using these type of bags and I need to get to the bottom, and for everything else sometimes I just use that anyway, whether I need to get to the bottom of something on. But if not, I've got this as well, which is a fork and a spoon, and it's shorter, and a can opener and a bottle opener, and it had a carabiner on it. That was well stupid having a carabiner where that hole is there. So with a carabiner, really, that's useless. So I took that off. I don't hang it anywhere either, there's no point. That sits in this little bag, which also sits in my side pocket. And then just trying to stick with the as I showed you in the if you watched the last one as well, part 1, I take a handful of them, usually I say a handful, maybe 2, 3, I don't know, just to make sure I've got more than I need. I usually don't have them till the morning, and I usually grab 2 or 3 tea bags and I just throw them in my side pocket. I don't have any special bag or anything for them. I just lob them in a side pocket, so it gives me a tea, drink water if I want to drink water. It gives me a tea, as I said earlier about the bag. I've got these bottles, so I'll drink water, or I'll just have a tea or a coffee. Especially in the winter, I'm mostly drinking hot drinks. So that's that. Now lighting's interesting, because as I said in the last one, I've got a head torch, but I very rarely use the head torch. So what I've noticed subconsciously, I haven't set out to do this, is that once I put this on a lanyard around my neck, this torch, which is good, it's got a narrow beam and you can see that it's got a narrow beam and the wide beam is really good, because it kind of you can just hang it around your neck. You just let it dangle and it kind of lights up everywhere. You don't need to specifically point it. That, and then that is hanging somewhere on the tent, usually inside the vestibule at the top. And those two together, that and that, is all I use for lighting. I've got a head torch, but I've just noticed nowadays I don't ever wear that anymore. It's those two together are more convenient and much better. And that sits in my tent, and I've got that with me, so if I think somebody's coming or I want to just turn it off or something, I'll just reach in my pocket and press that, and this little thing has got different settings and that, and it goes off, and that's all I need. It's a really bright setting, and it has a really dull setting, and you can also turn up and down with a plus and minus. You can get it how you want it, and you can turn it on and off, and it's like, yeah, it's also a power bank as well. So it has a little indicator there telling you the battery level, so there's no need, and it hangs off. It's got a magnet. In my camper van, I just pump onto the roof of my camper van, because I take it in both, 'cause it's so good. I take it in both, and then, or you can hang it off of something in the tent, and it's so good that I take it when I'm out in the camper. That's my light in the camper, and then when I go camping, I take it with me. That's my light in there, because it's just so good. That's all I need for the lighting side of it. I bring that with me. It's just a general purpose tool. Very rarely use it, but I'd like to have it with me in case. I have a power bank. Again, I'm only going for one night, so it's really a backup, because I very rarely use the power bank either. I take 2 GoPro batteries with me. I charge them up, and I charge my phone up, and that's kind of me done for one night. There has been occasions where I've gone straight from work camping, and I've not had a chance to charge my phone up, and I use it then. But really, it's a backup. It doesn't actually get a massive amount of use. I did have a much bigger one that charged multiple things at once and lasted forever, and it was just so overkill. It was really heavy, and so I bought this one from Amazon, and it's much lighter, much smaller, and not really in any particular need to have anything more than that, really. So oh, it's got a light on it as well. Oh yeah, I've got a light on it as well, so you can use it if you need some sort of a backup torch. And it has a little thing there that pulls out, so you can actually use it as a phone. If you're charging your phone, it sits in there, so it holds the phone up, so you can use it as a stand while you're charging your phone. Quite handy. But for me personally, it's more of a backup, just in case. I'll very rarely use it. I see loads of people when they're talking about their camping, when they're filming equipment, they've got bags and bags of filming equipment, tons of stuff. I bring this with me. That's my camping equipment, and it half fills that barely. I've got a couple of batteries. I've got one battery, one's in the camera. I've got a couple of batteries. I've got a couple of cables, and that's like all I bring with me. I don't quite understand. Maybe I'm not a brilliant filmmaker. I can't quite understand what I need beyond that. Yeah, I guess for more nights you need more stuff. For one night, I barely go on to the second battery, if at all, for the GoPro. And right, I'm going to go in the pockets. So in one pocket, I showed you other stuff that was in the pockets. I bring this with me. It's a backup for light and fire, really. But I don't really know why I take it with me, because I don't ever light fires, and I can't really light fires in places to go to anyway. So I do question why I bring it with me. But there's a little bit of tissue for tinder. Somebody for Christmas gave me, a long time ago, they gave me man glitter as a ha joke. It's got wood chips in it, you know, sawdust in it. And I take that for kindling again, and I take a big sparky thingamajig, which has for some reason it has a ruler on it. I don't quite understand why you have a ruler on. And it has a bottle opener, and yeah, so you just use that to spark. And I always bring it with me. It was something I bought with me from when I first started getting the kit together. I always keep it in every bag I have, but I don't ever light fires where I'm going, so I think there's a sense of, I don't know, you know, where you have a lucky charm. You know, I made that I made that ages ago. Bring it with me. Never used it. Can't light fires where I'm going, and so I don't know why I bring it, and yet I still bring it with me. Here's in the other pocket of the bag is just toothpaste, a foldable toothbrush. So you open it up like that, and it's a toothbrush. Similarly, put it away. Keeps it from dirt and free, and makes it smaller. And there's a little disposable wet wipe in there as well. Remember, I'm going to out on a tissue if I need it. That's my ablution set, and it also I have a bag of wet wipes in the other pocket for just general purpose usage. That's the two side pockets, and in the top pocket, which I think is the last of it now, as far as I can see, I have a first aid kit. Obviously, you know, you would need a first aid kit. As you can see, my bag that has all my filming stuff in, I bought that thinking it was smaller, and then actually I stayed with my original kit, which is thinner. That is smaller, but it's a lot thicker when it's full on. It's a lot thicker, but I actually went for, it made me realise that actually that's the optimum size for a first aid kit, because I like how flat it is. It's sort of, you can pack more stuff in there, and it's just a general purpose first aid kit with bits and bobs, made up of bits and bobs over the years that I've stuffed in there. Head torch, rechargeable head torch, hardly ever use it, as I said, and a life tent, which I've not got out yet. I want to do that in one of my videos, you know. As far as I can work out, it's just a plastic bag, a giant plastic bag. I don't think it has a, as I said, I've not opened it, I don't think it has a tent shape. I think it's just a plastic tarpaulin. I'm scared to unravel it all, and because in case I can't get it back in the bag again. It seems to have cord there as well to tie it up, and for obvious reasons, you know, I forget to bring the tent fails, and I really want to stick with it. I don't want to leave. It's an emergency in case I need it. There's a hairband in there as well, which in case my hairband breaks. Oh, you never know. Also quite useful for tying things up and holding things together and stuff like that. And that pretty much sums up everything I bring with me. I don't think there's anything else. I think I've gone through absolutely everything. That's my summer. Quite a lot of stuff still. Because I think the only changes are probably like a thicker sleeping bag and more of a winter tent. I think, you know, not much is much different really. More clothes. I do take different clothes with me when I go camping in the winter. Maybe I'll do a winter setup later on, but for the moment that's the summer setup. That's everything I bring with me. I can't think of anything else, and that's it. So hope that's enlightened the people that were asking about it, and thanks for sitting with me and watching all this, and maybe you can get something out of that. I don't know.